Good.
Yep, let's go for it.
What's that?
Let's go for it.
Okay, let's go for it. Okay, evening everybody out there in Zoom land. Hopefully we don't Zoom for too much longer. I know Phillipstown is back doing meetings, and I think Nelsonville's contemplating. So Mayor Bowman and Supervisor Shea this evening, so a little bit of talk about that. Anyway, welcome everybody. We have quite a bit going on here tonight, so let's get to it. Is Michelle here or not?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. First is Resolution 15, 2020, authorizing budget adjustments. Does anyone have questions on these?
No.
No, I looked at them, they look fine.
Okay. There was one that I was, under the garbage, let's see, it's the second page. 8160-100, garbage personnel services, 6,500. Does anyone know what that's about?
I don't. But it's still in the highway budget. It was just moved around.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't have.
I was just wondering why it was personal services, what that would be. Anyway.
That may be a reflection of the CDL guide. That may in part be a reflection of the CDL guy that was hired.
Okay. All right. No other questions?
No.
No.
Make a motion to approve the transfers or adjustments.
Second?
Roll call.
Yep.
Mayor Morandi,
Aye.
Trustee Early,
Yes.
Trustee Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Villotto.
Aye.
Okay, it's passed unanimously. Next we go to, we have a couple correspondence. One's removal of a handicap parking sign. Is that on Railroad Avenue or is that on
No, that's on Stone Street.
Stone Street? So we have a letter from Adam Houston and Joe Frisenda Sr. Inquiring about the removal, saying the sign has been there for 30 years. Why has it been removed? And if it's illegal, what's illegal about it? And why weren't they given a chance to discuss its removal? So this was news to me that it was removed, which shouldn't happen.
I can speak to it. I can speak to it if you don't mind. When Larry and I were going around the village looking at signage and everything else, so as we were looking at chapter 126, vehicles and traffic, that sign was never in the code. It was put up years ago by someone for whatever reason, but there's no handicap space in the code for that particular space. Most of the handicap parking is on Main Street. That particular house has a driveway which can accommodate cars, and I believe they might have a garage in the back, but I'm not sure. But the reason why the sign was taken down, and I asked Bugsy to take it down, is because it's not in the code. All the other handicap spaces in the village are in the code as handicap spaces.
Okay, so first of all, trustees shouldn't be doing that. That's a no-no. It's in our little handbook. We should look at that. So
We were just straightening out what was in the code or what was not in the code.
yeah, but that's not highway shouldn't be given directions by anyone other than myself, I believe.
Sorry. Okay.
So we should discuss that. It's taken down, I guess. I wish we had time. We had discussed it. I don't know. It's what to do now.
Is the pole still there?
I don't know.
I'll look and see if it's still there, and I'll contact them if they have driveways. Then they're both. I know Mr. Houston is fairly. I see Joe walking all the time. Adam, I think, is elderly.
Their driveway is behind their house on Railroad Avenue.
But there's also a driveway on Stone Street.
Yeah, the driveway. on Stone Street.
Isn't that driveway associated with the hub?
No.
There's two.
A separate driveway?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll see if there's a poll and look into it. I'll contact these guys and see what we can do. I don't know if they have driveways, so they need them, but, so maybe I'll get an explanation. We'll go from there. Next time, please, let's discuss stuff before we tell anyone to do anything.
Yes, sir, I will do.
All right, thank you, Fran. Okay. Next is Tots Park. The request to open it or questioning whether or when it will be opened. Let's see. This is by Tom Stevens from 52 Morris Avenue.
Yes.
Tots Park, hi folks. Any updates on the park reopening? Other New York State parks and playgrounds are now open, and I feel like with mask and distancing, Tots Park could be reopened safely. I did contact, what's her name? Drawing a blank here.
Andrea?
Andrea, who didn't seem, I don't think she gave me a direct answer. I don't think she was comfortable with it opening. I personally, unless someone's going to volunteer and someone's going to set up a plan for cleaning the equipment in there, I'm not comfortable with opening it.
I would be more comfortable opening it if all those toys were taken out of there, which kind of defeats the purpose of Tots Park anyway. It's just, I think the playground equipment, which is mostly wooden, can, just being out in the elements will probably not transfer the virus that much. But what I'm concerned about is, the little kids playing with all that plastic stuff, which tends to harbor that kind of contagion. I think it would be less risky if all that stuff was out of there, but that doesn't make it so much fun for the kids. Kids could bring their own toys and play with them while they're there, which would be a good option. I'm not opposed to opening it up as long as we take all that stuff out of it, all those random toys and buckets and everything.
Anyone else?
If parents are willing to have their kids go in there, then why not?
Because we're the government peoples. And we're to
Maybe-
protect our citizens.
Maybe we should,
Like,
maybe we should put a sign,
yeah,
put a sign that says, this, the toys here are not disinfected. So if you allow your children to play, it's your responsibility. I'm not comfortable with opening it. I wouldn't want my children or grandchildren playing in there. 'Cause kids tend to put their mouths on things and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
I don't think
they're
I-
toddlers. They put
Go ahead.
everything in their mouths.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's that, Steve? Sorry.
They are toddlers. They're going to put everything in their mouths, and they're not thinking that way. But I agree that if parents want to take their kids there and clean things and look after their kids properly, then I don't have a problem with it.
I just think like last week we discussed the Main Street and we, rescinded the resolution, which I was really tired. I didn't, was going to argue it, didn't feel up to it. But I don't think unless something's happened that I haven't noticed, I don't think anything's changed from when we started this. We're still in a pandemic. It's still there. It's, we've loosened up stuff, but I don't know. Where it seems like we're acting like it's not there anymore, and they can just. What's the difference between before and now as far as opening the playground? We decided before not to do it, and now it's going to be okay. And
Well, statewide things are way more open now than they were at that time.
Well, it's not that statewide things are open. It's just that the COVID transmission and infection rate in New York has gone down significantly. We've seen some really good numbers over the past weeks or so. So, and when we closed the park, cases were still rising and we didn't know what this was going to do. However, on the other hand, we don't know what's going to happen when kids start going back to school and when the weather cools off. It feels comfortable being out and occasionally meeting with some friends now and then but who knows what's going to happen when everybody moves back inside. And then, I don't know.
we just took all the precautions
Yeah.
with the visitor center. It could be the same thing. If we're just going to put a sign up there, say, enter your own risk, we should just do that for the visitor center.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the reason why the numbers have gone down is because people are being careful.
That's
Once we
right.
start, and they just came out and said the children, while they may not be getting it, carry this virus and pass it around a lot more than most of us. So, I mean, I'm for leaving it closed.
The numbers reducing might not have anything to do with the precautions being taken. They don't know. They can't attribute that to people wearing masks and washing their hands and all that. It could just be the pattern that the thing is taking, so there's really no way to know. I don't know. You can err on the safe side and just keep everything closed, or you have to take chances by opening things and letting people figure things out for themselves. I don't know.
Well, Dockside Park is open. Riverfront Park is open. The Hudson Highlands is open. We've got lots of people going back and forth. I would be in favor of opening up the park as long as we took all those toys out of there and made it clear to parents who are taking their children there, if you want to bring toys with you, like riding toys and trucks and stuff, you can bring them with you to play with while you're there, but you must remove them. I mean, that's the only way I would be in favor of that.
Yeah. We have a lot of visitors that use that park and look for that park. They're not going to, I think they're looking for the toys. I'm in favor of keeping it closed. I don't think we should risk it.
Well, we have two that are against, one that's definitely for, two that are definitely against. Steve and Lynn are kind of, I'm not quite getting, I mean, I would, if there was some plan and there were people and volunteers, or there's a TOTS group that are willing to clean everything, just like we're asking the, chamber to do, then fine. Or if you remove everything, I don't know, there's still, isn't there slides there? And
Yeah, swings and slides and.
Jungle gym and teeter
Teeter-totter.
totters.
Yeah.
Well, bummer. I think if a volunteer group offered to manage it, that would be great. I think some parents might need to just step up to manage it so that they can use it and other people can use it and keep it safe for others. I don't think it needs to fall on as the responsibility of all the rest of Cold Spring residents to fund it. So.
I mean, it would be someday somebody would have to be there 24/7. Well, not 24/7, during late hours for sure. People are going to be there constantly,
We're
and
not gonna get
it's a
that.
lot of use. So
We're not going to get that.
I don't think so. So Steve for against.
I don't know. Give me 5 more seconds to think about it.
Okay. Or we can contact, if someone wants to contact Andrea and ask her. I don't know. I don't know. She's kind of the go-to, but I don't know if they have actually a formed group or whatever, or how they would work that. But
Yeah.
Was the Friends of Totlot. They did the fencing
yeah, I don't know.
last year.
It's an informal group. I don't know if they have a, president and all that. But she is the contact person, from what I remember, Andrea.
Okay, well, I'll reach out to her again. I did after the last time we discussed it. I don't remember exactly what she said. It didn't sound like she was in favor of it. But she was maybe just speaking for herself too. And I'm not sure how much she's willing to organize, or if there's someone else that wants to organize. So for the time being, let's keep it closed. I'll contact her, ask her, her thoughts on that, and we'll revisit. That sound okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move along. Request to waive late fee taxes. Where is this one? I haven't read this. Sorry, been incredibly busy today. Whatever.
So a couple who live at Forge Gate went to their daughters in Colorado and stayed there for 4.5 months when they were quarantined. And when they were able to get out of quarantine, they had their first mail delivery. and it contained their tax bill and it was delinquent. And so they're asking to waive the taxes. Waive the penalty on their taxes.
Mhm.
Um, and Any thoughts? I'm in favor of waiving.
I agree.
I agree, I'm in favor.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to waive the late fee for the taxes from Philip and Carol Knitzer. I have a second.
I'll second.
Second, I'm sorry, give it a Lynn.
Lynn has the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next next is the LOA with the chamber regarding public restrooms. Somebody want to take this one? No?
Fran,
Um,
the LOA,
Okay, yes. We got some comments back from Kieran. I sent it off to Jack Goldstein, who had their LOA readjusted based on what Kieran had requested. And the basic part of it was that the Chamber's insurance company will not cover this. Our insurance company will. Kieran is working on getting the Chamber added to our insurance as a additional insured. Jack reworded the LOA based on Kieran's request. I sent it back to Kieran. He looked at it, he said it looks fine. So as far as I can see, there's nothing else that needed to be done except the insurance situation.
Fran, do you know when Karen will have that updated, the insurance policy?
I don't know. But I know he said that they were going to be doing it and it was fine to do it. I can double check that with him.
We can pass it. I mean, we can approve it, and on the condition we receive them as an added insured.
Okay, I will
Sounds like a plan.
request that from.
Is everyone
Hopefully
right with that?
Yeah.
I'll let you know as soon as I see it. I believe it's already there, but I'm not positive.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the LOA with the chamber regarding public restrooms to start once we receive from our insurance the addition of the chamber as additionally insured.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also vote aye. Okay, next update on climate smart Phillipstown with smart Roberto Mueller. Is Roberto here?
Can you hear me okay?
He's in the board. Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Howdy. This is the first.
Hey, Roberto.
Good
Hi,
to see all of
Roberto.
you. Howdy.
Howdy.
So yeah, I have 3 items of news to share. The first of which is personal. My girlfriend and I got engaged back in May, which is exciting news. But it affects my position with the town because most likely we're actually planning on moving away from Phillipstown sometime next year. It's all very loose for obvious reasons, mostly due to the pandemic and so forth. So the town is in the process of looking at candidates to transition as the coordinator, and most likely I will complete my position starting January 1st. That's when the new coordinator will take over. So just wanted to let the village board know that. It's been a pleasure so far working with all of you. Thank you. So as we have updates regarding that, I'll be sure to let the village board know, especially once we've picked a replacement candidate. But also if the village board knows of anyone, we're spreading the news generally. So if anyone comes to mind who you think might be a good candidate to take over the position, feel free to email me at C as in climate, S as in smart, phillipstown@gmail.com. So again, that's csphillipstown@gmail.com. Other news is that for now, the grant funding for the electric vehicle charging station, which we submitted a grant for back in May, is still frozen. due to the pandemic. A week ago, I checked in with the coordinator of that grant, and she said they've received no updates. So for now, we're just in a holding pattern. Once we potentially are awarded the grant, then most likely we would have a 2-month period to schedule with the electrical contractors and the Phillipstown Highway Department so they have time to plan the work without feeling too stressed to try to fit it in. So we'll provide updates as that information becomes available. And then the third item on the list is the town of Phillipstown is launching what's called a refrigerant management program. And I sent a pretty involved PDF to Jeff that includes details on the program. And so there are a couple components. One of which is the town recycling center is now accepting appliances that contain refrigerants, such as Freon, but other ones that are somewhat well known are R22, R134A, R410A, so on and so forth. The most common refrigerant appliances are dehumidifiers, air conditioners, refrigerators, freezers, and then either mini split condensers that are used for heating and cooling, or just central cooling units. And all of these appliances are now accepted for free at the town of Phillipstown Recycling Center to all Phillipstown, Nelsonville, and Cold Spring residents.
That's good news.
And yeah, it was great. And so I'll touch on this in a second, but both the village of Cold Spring and the town of Phillipstown got some funding for different projects that helped out with this. So the recycling center is open on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so you can drop them off at any time. Also, if a household can't move their appliance themselves, we're offering free curbside pickup, and households just have to call the Phillipstown town clerk to request a scheduled pickup. Once we have enough requests to justify a visit, we have a contractor who has a box truck who will, do the rounds and pick up the appliances. It would be on a Saturday morning, and the town clerk would reach out to each household to let them know which Friday night to leave it out on their curb.
I have a question for you, Roberta.
Sure.
Do you know if the town yard there, or whatever we're calling it, do they take old computers and stuff there?
They do not. At one point they were accepting electronics, but no electronics anymore. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
They do take white goods such as washing machines, drying machines, but that's pretty much the limit. And then now we're accepting the refrigerant appliances that have the refrigerant in them. The old policy was the refrigerant had to be extracted before you could take it to the recycling center.
Okay.
Now we're accepting everything. And the reason is, now I can get to the context, the refrigerants that are used in all of these different equipment appliances are absolutely horrendous greenhouse gases. They range on the scale from 1,400 to 2,000 times worse for climate change than a molecule of CO2. So you release just a small amount, and it can have the equivalent impact of driving a car for a whole year. There are all sorts of different comparisons, but very severe refrigerants. There was a global study by a group called Drawdown that highlighted containing refrigerant leakage as the #1 global climate change issue in the decades to come. And this is primarily because a lot of households are going to switch in the decades to come from fossil fuel-based heating systems to what are called heat pump heating systems that contain these refrigerants. So it becomes more and more essential as time passes to have a very well-planned mitigation process. Most of the refrigerant leaks out during the waste phase at the end of life. So our program is tackling that first. And then we're eventually planning to develop some additional aspects of the program that help out with leakage detection. So for example, a business could request maybe a subsidy. There are different ideas floating around to help out, pay a contractor to do some leakage testing on their equipment, just to make sure their commercial refrigerators, freezers, air conditioning aren't leaking without them knowing. And the additional context is we are sending out a mailer to all addresses in Phillipstown. My brother's trying to call me right now. That we have developed thanks to a lot of volunteer work from members of our Phillipstown task force. They put in a ton of work to get this together, and it's at the bottom of the PDF that you can see. And we're using every door direct mail from the US Postal Service because it greatly decreases the cost of postage. So this is pretty much set to go. So most likely within the next couple of weeks, households and businesses will be receiving this in the mail. It provides educational information on why refrigerants are a problem and also proper ways to dispose of them. There's some great subsidies as well through Central Hudson. If you have still a working refrigerator, they offer $100 in free pickup, for example, and so on and so forth. So we will have that going out to folks pretty soon. And the last item is this program was paid for through a sustainability fund that was raised by the community solar program that Jewel Community Power, which is our, God, there's so many words and acronyms, our Community Choice Aggregation Administrator, or CCA Administrator. And they donated $50 for every household that signed up for their community solar program. And we were able to raise $7,500 for our program. And the village of Cold Spring, through its own sustainability fund, as far as I've been told, has raised $2,400. And I know folks from Jewel are reaching out to Cold Spring about possible ideas for using those funds for sustainability projects. Example could be using it for the EV charging station, cost share, or any additional projects. But if the village of Cold Spring is also interested in collaborating on the refrigerant management program, there are additional initiatives that we could see happening in the years to come, especially the further engagement with businesses, specifically grocery stores, convenience stores that have much bigger refrigeration systems and need a lot more involved overlap and support in managing some of the refrigerant. So if the village, after reading through the whole document and studying the issue, decides that this is something that you would also like to engage on and develop some programs revolving around, we can share information, tons of resources that we've been able to gather through our research, and also are totally willing to partner on future projects related to it, similar to what we're doing with the EV charging station.
Is that what the collaboration means, Roberto?
Yes, exactly.
Now, do you have any documentation on those opportunities?
The future ones? Or
Yeah.
the existing?
The
Yeah,
existing
future.
and future.
Yeah, so as listed in the PDF for the existing, we will be spending about $2,000 to send out the 4,800 mailers. We've reserved another 2,500 for refrigerant removal, which will happen. We'll pay a company called Interstate Refrigerant Recovery to visit the recycling center and properly remove the refrigerant. And then we have 3,000 reserved for curbside pickup. That's a rate of $80 per hour for a contractor and assistant, and have allotted around 38 hours total for that. We don't know yet what the rate of recycling of these appliances will be. So it could be something that lasts for like 5 years, or it may end up being used faster, in which case, we'll do additional fundraising and figure out how to sustain it. But the town has definitely recognized it's a program that's a priority that they want to make sure it continues. And then for additional projects, the main idea that we've arrived on right now is there are HVAC companies that offer leakage detection services, where they will go to a business and they have equipment where they can test if there's leakage. So the town is interested in offering a subsidy or a stipend to commercial businesses within Phillipstown that are interested in doing this. And so that specifically is what we would look to raise more money for in addition. An average visit, it really depends, but most likely can be done within a couple hours. So it depends on the contractor's rates, but it's probably somewhere from $200 to $500. So the goal is, hopefully, since we don't have so many commercial businesses, that we would try to provide at least probably like 30% match, if not 50%, if we could raise the money for that.
Mm-hmm.
So per business, looking at around $100 to $250 is kind of the range of what we're trying to raise.
I might suggest that you probably get more bang for your buck if you really focus on the small mom and pop shops, because speaking as a person who's had a business like this and worked also in large grocery stores have contracts with, you know, large refrigeration companies, and they deal with all of that stuff. However, small mom and pop shops tend to buy their large equipment used. You never know what kind of shape the refrigerant is in or going to be in.
Right.
And very
Exactly.
often we move it along to another small person when we're either upgrading or whatever.
Yep.
But I think there's probably a lot more transfer right there. So I would, you know, with your mailers, I wouldn't wait to reach out to small restaurants, small quick stores, bakeries, and so forth. I mean, I can think of several dozen already just in Phillipstown.
Yeah, and we definitely want to prioritize supporting small businesses as being really the heart of our culture in Cold Spring and Phillipstown.
Yeah.
So I agree. Thank you, Lynn.
Because with dealing with refrigerant and the permitting and the fees that it costs to deal with all of that, it's kind of a disincentive for small businesses to actually deal with it and pay the money to deal with it. So it can kind of actually exacerbate the problem. So, you know,
That's not on a Board of Health checklist.
No.
No, it's only new to New York State as well. Just because of this book Drawdown, a lot of global focus has shifted. Most people assumed it was about vehicles, home heating, eating red meat that were the biggest contributors to climate change. And this book really shook a lot of foundations in the industry, quote unquote. And so New York State is doing all sorts of studies. They're revamping their Climate Smart Communities program to really integrate refrigerant management, creating new grant opportunities and so forth. So we're right there with a lot of communities in this learning phase right now to try to figure out how to do it. So thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate your input because that helps a lot.
You know, even just raising awareness, you get, you know, because it's one of those things that small business people, I mean, larger businesses, they've got people that can deal with it. But
right, that makes sense.
You know, you've got so many things on your plate. It's easy just to let that stuff slip by, and you know, then the damage is being done without us even knowing it.
Yeah.
Roberta, you had said you were looking for collaboration with the village, and I was trying to understand what kind of collaboration you meant.
So in terms of, okay, so yeah, like funding, you know, cost sharing in terms of, for example, if we do a subsidy for small businesses to do leakage detection, that would be a clear cost share opportunity, but also promoting the program, possibly holding webinars or presentations, you know, hosted by the town and the village to lend more credibility to it. Collaborating potentially also with the Chamber of Commerce, in addition. And if the village and town, you know, in subsequent years, we decided, oh, we want to do another mailer because it had a good effect, but we want to keep it on the forefront of folks' minds, then it might be an opportunity to cost share on that as well. Because we've done so much research, we already have a lot of the, I think, information, and we're actually doing a refrigerant inventory for our town at this point. So most likely it would be in terms of doing some fundraising or in helping to promote what we've already put together.
Okay, so now I'm going to be a little negative.
Sure.
The CCA program was identified as being more expensive in this year than prior Central Hudson rates.
Sorry, my battery's going to die. I just
Okay.
want to make sure I get to a charger. But go ahead.
Okay, so the rates are higher through the CCA than they are through Central Hudson, which is a disincentive to sign up.
That's for the CCA, but not the community solar program. They're two separate programs.
Right. what is being done to try to address the higher rates from the CCA?
The CCA rates have been fixed. What happened was because of the pandemic, Central Hudson experienced a plummet in prices. So their average price is 6.8 cents and it plummeted down to 4.7 cents because no one was driving or using commercial electricity for a period of time. What's been happening is it's slowly going back up. So it's hit 5.8 cents at this point. But because of the contract, there's nothing the CCA can do until the contract ends next July, end of June. The rate that Direct Energy, the supplier, offered was great compared to the average Central Hudson price.
Yeah.
It was 6.3 versus 6.8 cents. But unfortunately, in the case of a global pandemic, there was no way to foresee the crash in prices. And that's the downside of being in a fixed price program. If there is a huge economic downturn, it can mean that during that period, your fixed rate is actually higher. So that's unfortunately what happened.
What is the penalty, if there is any, for opting out of the CCA for an individual?
None. And it takes 1 minute to do. So it's
Okay,
very quick. Yeah.
And then when rates come back into alignment, that person could re-enroll.
Correct. Yeah. And it's also very quick to do. Yeah.
Okay.
And the easiest way to do that is you go to HudsonValleyCommunityPower.com. And in their navigation menu, you see the title CCA. And then it opens up a little drop-down menu and it says Enrollment Change Form. So you click on that, you enter your information, and very quickly you can either opt in or opt out, depending on your situation.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Roberta?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
The
Thank you. I know I get caught up so
Lynn,
much in the seriousness
you're
of his work.
frozen.
I'm
Yeah, I
frozen.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, one more thing, Roberto. When is the this refrigeration unit reclaim thing? When is that going to start in earnest?
It has, at the recycling center,
Mhm.
it has already started.
Okay.
So yeah, it's in effect. And the Phillipstown website has some information on it. If you go to the recycling center
Okay.
link on the left side of the Phillipstown page, it's a little convoluted because there's so many links, but if you click on recycling center, it has all the information that I mentioned at the beginning as well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
basically is there a time when we have to decide on where we would like our funds to go?
No, I think it's kind of on a rolling basis because the community solar program is still happening. So households are signing up. We finally determined that we needed to use the money to launch this program. But in the meantime, we'll still be accruing some funds even as the program is beginning.
Is community solar equal to Nexamp?
Yes, but now the community solar, I guess each year they have to renew the contract and they got a better deal from a company called Ampion. AMPION. So new enrollees are part of Ampion Community Solar Farms, but it's all through the same program.
So currently the village is signed up for Nexamp.
Okay.
Do we need to get out of Nexamp and into this new one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the way it works is there are solar farms.
Yep.
And last year the contract was with Nexamp to fill those farms.
Okay.
All those farms were filled. So then at the point of renewal, I guess Jewel decided to go with this company Ampion, and they have additional farms that are now being filled. But anyone, myself included, because we ended up doing it with Nexamp, that got that contract is now good for, I think it's like 20 years or something. You get 10% savings automatically, basically, on your Central Hudson bill. So.
Yeah. Now, what we'd like to do is, what we wanted to do with Nexamp was enroll our large consumers of electricity, specifically the water and the sewer plant. And what we were told is that there's not enough solar right now to fuel the water and sewer. Do you have any idea whether the new company has a larger solar base so that we could potentially enroll with them? Because we're talking about our three biggest users are streetlights, water, and sewer. So we'd like to get those enrolled. Water and sewer is, I think streetlights is demand. One of them is demand and the other is the other kind. And the communication from Nexamp is they didn't have the capacity to take them on. Do you know whether or not this new company has a larger capacity?
As far as I understand, and I'll follow up on this as well with Jeff Domansky from the Hudson Valley Community Power Program. As far as I understand, community solar farms are specifically trying to prioritize small business and residential access. There's also an environmental justice component of it where households that can't afford the loans or the risk to install their own solar panels get access to the savings through the community solar farm. So the program's not really emphasizing big electricity users, such as wastewater treatment plants or a large, business. But if a business doesn't have demand charges, there may still be a possibility. As far as I understand, Ampion and Nexamp have very similar regulations that are mandated from the state, and that's how they get that 10% subsidy that's passed on to us as the customer. So their hands are kind of tied in terms of who they can sign up. But I'll reach out to Jeff and then I can get back to you. Most of the time, what I've seen other municipalities do is they do power purchase agreements. We're considering this for the rec center. We would have a bunch of solar panels installed on the roof. We wouldn't actually own it, but progressively over, I think it's 20 years or 25 years, we would slowly buy it through a per kilowatt hour rate, just like paying for electricity. And it's cheaper than what we're paying to Central Hudson, so we'd save some money through it. And then after 20 years, we would finally own it outright. But the panels usually only last 25 to 30 years, so it'd be kind of a short window of ownership.
Right.
That's a way to get all the benefits of the solar energy, not having to, it's kind of like you're creating your own little mini solar farm. And that might be a possibility, but the problem is you need the land to put it on.
Right.
Other than that, what I've heard is usually just large businesses, municipalities will purchase their electric supply from a clean energy source. So that's what the CCA offers, 100% clean energy. And some municipalities will go a little further and they'll purchase separate carbon offsets as well, for other uses or emissions like vehicles. But as far as I know, those are the main options that we've been looking at.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, we'll be getting back in touch with you, Roberto.
All right, and vice versa.
And thanks and congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you. All
Thank
right,
you,
I'll be in touch.
Roberto. Thank you.
So long.
Okay, take care.
Aye.
All right. The approval of bills.
I move to approve bills batch number 5718 for a total amount of $143,571.13.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 8/5/20 and 8/11. Well, we'll start 8/5/20. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And lastly, approval of minutes 8/11/20. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, a couple things before we get into our code update review and before we take some questions, if there are any out there. Marie and I sat in with Michelle Smith from Hudson Highland Land Trust and Chazen this morning, and Matt Krug, our water department head, and discussed the future water use in Cold Spring and all things water related. We will set up a meeting where where Michelle can give a presentation, but it was a really informative meeting. I think it was at least an hour long and a lot of questions and some good thoughts and maybe some options with our water system that were pretty interesting. So if you want to add anything, Marie?
No, Jeff was also on the call with
Oh,
us.
Jeff, sorry, Jeff.
And the Chazen people, George, and I can't remember the other guy's name, were incredibly knowledgeable and helpful in assisting in identifying what various options might exist other than the option that we're currently looking at in terms of repairing the upper dam and the DEP connection and repairing the upper dam. So it was a very interesting discussion.
So they'll have a final report. I think they were going to make a few changes or additions to the report we have now, which is lengthy, and they were going to add some of the thoughts we had talked about today. So that was a very good meeting. This afternoon, 4 o'clock, I met with New York State Parks, Linda Cooper and Evan Thompson from Little Stony Point, and Supervisor Shea and Mayor Bowman, along with Steve, and I'm forgetting his last name, from Constitution Marsh. First time I met him. And we were discussing ways to deal with parking for the park areas. So we had like at least an hour discussion. Oh yeah, Sandy Galiff also, she was on the phone. We met down the pavilion and went over, basically what's going on with the parks and parking and our fire company and what we might be able to do about it. So no decisions were made. A lot of thoughts that have probably been stated a million times before, and the concern for safety, especially down by Breakneck, were brought up. A few things they're going to follow up on. One thing is the state troopers have absorbed the New York State or the Parks Police. So Parks Police are basically no more or being phased out, and New York State Police are taking over. And from what Linda Cooper says right now in this transition, it's hard to communicate with the state troopers, or somehow they're not allowed to ask questions or something at this point. I'm not sure exactly what that meant. So anyway, there's that change. I think there was only one state park officer patrol in the whole Hudson Valley, or like in a huge area, like in our area, lower Hudson Valley. So with the state troopers, you'd think you'd get more, but it sounds like they're doing even less. And it's, anyway, some communication breakdowns there also. So they're working on that. And like I said, a number of things were brought up, and we'll see where it goes. But nothing to report on besides the meeting and the concerns that everyone has that ever drives down 9D on weekends, and those that go hiking, and the concern for our parks and the areas that we cherish and grew up with, were all brought up. And I believe Indian Brook, one place that I've been driving by recently quite a bit, has turned into a zoo. And I think this can be controlled by Phillips now. We can't do anything along 9D. It's DOT, which also seems like they're their own entity that basically doesn't want to budge on things unless something really seriously happens. So if they're looking at data, there's no accidents that happen down there. There's no one that's been killed. Why fix something that's not broken, is their attitude. On the back roads, Indian Brook being one of them, Richard and the town board do have jurisdiction over that. And they're going to be putting, it sounds like, guardrails along and blocking off the parking area that's used right now for both the Constitution Marsh and for Indian Brook. So, and possibly the other small parking area underneath the bridge nearer the falls that they're going to be blocking off also. So, and also contracting with a towing company to start towing. So those things were brought up, and I just wanted to update you on that. Some people think we don't do anything on that. We keep lobbying and trying to work with parks and DOT and everyone else is concerned. It just really hasn't gone anywhere. But I think we have, between Mike and Richard and myself, if we work together, maybe we can put a little more pressure on people and something might happen. Try to get things safer anyway. So that's all I have for now. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make any comments on anything right now? We have hands up, Michael, or?
Yes. Unmute yourself, Kathleen, and speak to us.
Hi, how's everybody?
Hello.
Good.
Um, Thank you very much, Dave, for meeting with Parks today. I just wondered, Sandy, there had been talk about Sandy Galiff pursuing or being interested in the idea of permit on certain trails to try to limit the number of folks who could be on the trail at a time. I don't know how you would enforce that, given that Hudson Highlands State Park has so many entries, but was that a topic of?
That did come up. That came up from Linda Cooper, not Sandy. I don't think Sandy, she might have mentioned it. I'm not sure. I think if I remember right, that Linda Cooper said it was being tried somewhere else and it didn't work. And the concern that you mentioned about access, different entries was brought up. So kind of was brought up, but nothing was followed up on it really. Richard did bring it up again regarding, getting set parking areas, stopping parking along the roads. And, of course, some people are going to find a way in, but,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
but at least, limit as much as you can and try to control it.
This is a totally different scale, but I've been thinking about my sisters were nurses in Alaska for a number of years, and one of them did medevac rescues on Denali. And obviously the scale of Denali is something very different than what we have here, but you had to prepay, before you got a permit, you had to prepay the cost of your rescue. And if you came down just fine, you got your money back. I don't know if that could be viable at all, but I think that's an interesting idea to sort of have people think before they go up the trail about the fact that it is serious and dangerous. Just an interesting comparison and idea. And then Steve knows from Adirondack visits in the summer that, the Adirondack State Park is shutting down parking lots and limiting people going into trails that are heavily used and abused. And it seems like, there's precedent for it being done in other parts of the state park system. So I don't know why, given the amount of use, it's not just people getting hurt, it's the amount of use on the trails, why that couldn't be considered for our area as well as it is in the Adirondacks.
These points were all brought up exactly like that. It was, getting permits and having fees for parking, having fees to hike, having a set amount of, places they, people that could enter the park. So that was all brought up. One problem, which was all the parking that's parallel now along, which is not our problem really, as far as the village or the town goes, but north of the tunnel, there's all parallel parking, and it's like, well, why allow that? Why not have something controlled and limit that? And
yeah,
that's DOT once again saying, they don't have a problem with that. So
it's so. I appreciate you making the effort. It's really frustrating to be caught between parks and DOT, and I guess it's so hard to understand. It's so hard to understand why they're willing to put controls in place in other parks and not here. Anyway,
they did bring up parks also all over not only the state but the country that are facing similar,
Yeah, of course, because everybody's trying to get outside.
I mean, ours really isn't just because of COVID. Other places are specifically because of that, but parks are really being overwhelmed, I guess. And people are taking action and limiting or closing parks. So
just one more quick thought on that. I kept a copy of it. I have it somewhere. There was a survey that was done at a trailhead that I visited in the Adirondacks this summer about usage and what people would be willing to tolerate in terms of trail closure if it were to protect the trail, if it were to increase safety. It was a very well worded survey that seemed like something that we could use or someone could use as a model for Highlands. I'll find it and scan it and send it to you.
I know they've taken surveys up, but I'm not sure it was on their survey. I think from what I can gather from parks, and I was, thought differently of parks. It seems like their mission is the more the merrier, and and we'll just have to deal with the numbers. Like, you know, if it's graffiti, because that we'll deal with the graffiti, we won't deal with the numbers. If it's parking, we'll deal with the parking. We're not going to deal with the numbers. It's you know, that just seems like their mission is to get as many people in parks and feeling like they're enjoying the outdoors as they possibly can. So, and then we brought up stewardship. We brought up, you know, the conditions of our mountains and what's happening to our, you know, our forests and outdoor, and I don't know, that doesn't seem to play well. Just not really a concern. I mean, I think there's a concern, but it's really, the more people you can get there, the better.
Really frustrating. Thank
Sure.
you.
You're welcome. Anyone else, Michael?
Mr. Turton is waiting to speak.
Just wondering if there's any more thoughts on the Halloween parade. Is that still on hold, or is it a go or canceled?
I don't think there is any more follow-up.
I spoke with Eliza, who is on the call, and made her aware that the village is considering canceling the Halloween parade. Eliza said I'm putting words in your mouth, Eliza. She expected that, based upon a number of other cancellations that the village had made for large gatherings. So my task from last week was to reach out to Eliza and inform her as to what we were going to do. My next step is to draft a formal letter from the village to the Chamber of Commerce, informing them that the Halloween parade will be canceled. The other thing that I was supposed to do, and Lynn, you were also on the hook for some things here. I spoke to some additional people who live on Parrott Street, and thus far, the people that I spoke to, which is a limited sample, no one is going to decorate or welcome children or adults into their to their front porches for Halloween night.
I keep missing my neighbor, my next door neighbor, to kind of get a sense of what and if they're planning anything. But everybody else I've spoken to in the neighborhood is concurring with what you've reported, Marie.
Okay, so there'll be a much smaller presence of fewer houses in the area of Parrott Street, Pine Street, and Parsons Street will be welcoming children and adults to their homes for Halloween. I still think that the village needs to provide police presence to block off Pine Street, Parrott Street, Parsons Street, and Bank Street on that night, on Halloween night. That's an opinion.
I might bring this up. I read a couple of articles about what other small municipalities are doing to celebrate Halloween in a safe way. And some chambers have gotten together and made a parade plan where people are where adults are in their cars, decorate their cars for Halloween, drive around the village, and all the kids stand out in their front yard and everybody throw candy at them from their cars, which it sounds like kind of a fun alternative. I'm just throwing it out there. It might be kind of a fun new way of doing it. So.
Okay, thank you.
I think what we should do now is, if you write that letter, I don't think we officially canceled it, did we? Or did we?
No, we
did.
did not,
So,
not officially.
I think we should do that, or take a vote on that now, and then send out the letter.
Okay.
And I also think we should probably put something in the papers, you know, recommending that maybe people don't, you know, caution people about, you know, actually having, you know, keeping their doors open for, you know, for the celebration. I don't know, it's, you know, not anything that will require, but just saying under the conditions, please, you know, think about not celebrating this year, or having, you know, keeping the thing going on Parrott Street and Pine Street in that area. And, you know, just as a note from the board, how anyone feels about that. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I think that you should really it's 1 year. Hopefully it's 1 year. I think we just need to take precautions, but again, it's up to parents and people if they want to open their doors, if they want people to come, we can't stop that. So anyway, so what we can do though is to vote on this. So I'll make a motion to cancel the Halloween parade for this year, hopefully only for this year.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we'll just review your letter and we'll send that out, Marie?
Yep.
Well, I guess, yeah, we'll review and send it out.
I have one other item. Last week, through the combined efforts of Jeff Vidakovich and Matt Stelz, the Cold Spring Fire Company had a session where all of the water, wastewater, highway department, and code enforcement officer went to the firehouse and had a photo ID badge created for them. This was brought up originally by Matt Krug, who asked if the village could provide such badges so that when the water or wastewater members went to private residences, they could provide some form of identification to resident owners. So that has now all been done. And that was through the joint efforts of the fire company, Matt Stelz, and Jeff Vidakovich.
Great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Matt. Thank you, Jeff. Also like to thank Jeff for, he's working with, since you brought up the our new code enforcement officer, he's been working with her very closely, started last week. One of our first approvals, I guess, is Angelina's, which I believe is open now. So I think it took him a little while, but I think that's one of her first. But also, you know, she has just praised Jeff up and down and said how valuable he is to her. And without Jeff, this whole transition, she said, should be crawled up in a corner, she said, with a basket on her head, were her words. So, so thank you, Jeff, for that. You're definitely appreciated. And, you know, she just, you know, praised Jeff on his knowledge of our code and how much help he's been. So thank you, and welcome, Charlotte. I think it's going to be good. One other thing, I did receive the New York State's Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative book. Wonderful. Very big font, so it's good for me. So I'm waiting through that. Larry Burke has sent me a, I don't know, it's fairly thick policy, you know, run through that I'm not sure where he got the document from, but he's, you know, changed the village from wherever she got it to, you know, use the village throughout. So I'm reviewing that as a start point. So once I have that, or look through it and talk to Larry again, and then, you know, we should have Larry, you know, at a meeting and presentation, you know, or we can talk about that as a board and where we want to go with the policy. I'm not sure if everyone knows. I didn't know we don't have a policy right now. I mean, we run off of New York State, you know, regulations. So this is a good step, and it's a very thorough document, and a lot of it really doesn't apply to us as a small village, but there are probably a few places that it does, and it'll be good to have something in place and input from everyone. So I know Mike has asked about that in the past, so that's where we are with the police, you know, coming up with a policy and abiding by the Governor Cuomo's, you know, requirement that we come up with a policy and everyone be part of it. So that's all I have that I can remember right now. Maybe I'll remember something in a minute. You never know. Is there anyone else on the line, Mike?
I don't see anyone else.
Okay. All right, as we've done in the past, we're going into code update review. Everyone is definitely welcome to stay. We have some exciting chapters tonight, licensing, taxation, residential parking, water, whatever we can get to in an hour. So everyone's welcome to stay. We will not be taking any public comment at this point. And that's it for the regular agenda, and we'll move into the chapter review.
Okay. We're starting tonight with chapter 71. It's,
Fran, can we do one thing? We had one item left over from chapter 111. Was it 111 or 18? 111.
Mhm.
111 is planning subdivisions, right?
okay, subdivisions, yes.
Yes. And in 111, there's one open item. 111 says that subdivisions, I'm trying to load it now. This has to do with the naming of streets in subdivisions. And chapter 11 currently says, chapter 111 currently says the village board names the streets. I'm trying to find where that is.
It is at 111:15, Marie.
Yeah, got it. Street names. It says type of name. All street names shown on a preliminary plat or subdivision plat shall be approved by the planning board and village board. And that names should be substantially different. So the question is, does the village board wish to be a co-approver of street names, or should it be only the village board, or should it be only the planning board? What is the village board's thought on that?
I'm good with being a co-namer,
Okay, which is the way it is currently stated.
right?
So how do streets, are these, like if there's a subdivision like Butterfield that has a number of streets on it, those are their development streets, those aren't really, are those postal streets we're talking, or are those streets also named by the planning board? Or-
The Butterfield streets are private streets.
Okay, so that's private, but,
Right. These would be the public streets
okay.
that would be identified in a subdivision. So you remember we had a conversation last time about whether or not, sorry, it was in the definition of a major and a minor subdivision, Dave, remember? And there was the identification of with or without public streets being required. So this would be public streets, not private streets.
I'm fine with,
The joint naming? Okay. Steve, Lynn, do you have any opinion?
I agree as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay, so Fran, I'm going to reject this one,
Okay,
so we're good. So 111 is now ready to go to cleaned and okayed.
okay, perfect. Okay, so 111 is complete.
Yep.
Okay, now we're on 71 licensing. 71 has relatively been totally rewritten. What was in the code before was, I believe, about 1.5 pages. And I think John thought it should be more. John thought it should include more, so he sent us some connections to some other municipalities.
Filler.
Sorry?
Specifically, John's comment was to Dave, and it was specifically about door-to-door solicitation,
Okay.
right?
So what you have in front of you is what we have created on 71. It's a lot longer. It now has 12 pages. It has definitions. It's got a lot of other things in it. I don't know if anyone has comments, if anyone's had a chance to look at it.
So I think that's the first question. Has anyone had a chance to look at it?
I have not.
I have a little bit, but I haven't gone through the entire thing totally.
Okay, it really is, as Fran said, it's a major change
That's a lot there.
to the document. Fran, I recommend that we hold this one off until people have had a chance to review it, and I recommend that be done by members of the board by our next code review.
Okay, so we'll start the next review with 71.
Okay.
Next thing on the agenda is 118, and Marie sent us an email today about 118 and the taxation situation. So I think with 118, okay, there are some changes, but before we get into the changing of it, we've sort of discovered that no matter what we put down for exemptions, whether it's 15,000 or 24,000, the village does not make the decision as the way things stand now. What actually happens is not what the code says. Maria, I'm going to let you go through that because you've got a better handle on it.
So in 1989, the village turned over assessing responsibilities to the town. Along with that, the town then began implementing the town's exemptions for village tax for the village taxation base. Specifically, what happens is each year the town sends to the county the assessed value and the exemptions for each parcel in the village. And starting in 1989, the town began sending to Putnam County the list of exemptions that were valid for the town. Since that point in time, additional exemptions have been identified as being legal by the state. And when that happened, the state identified whether or not the exemption applied to county, town, or village. There was at least one situation where the exemption applied to all three, but the village could opt out. There was an expiration date on that opt-out, and that expiration date was, if I remember correctly, 2 months after the state passed the law. The village did not opt out on that, so that is now one of the exemptions that are applied by the town in the data rolls that they send to the county for preparation of village taxes. In looking at how exemptions are calculated and how they affect the tax rolls, it is very complicated. Fran and I discussed the possibility of the village taking back that responsibility from the town, but that does not seem practical. So my recommendation is that the village go with the town exemptions as specified. And in the email, I identified the specific types of exemptions that are applied by the town. Age, there are 5 veterans exemptions, age and income, 5 veterans exemptions. There's a business exemption. There's firefighter exemptions and volunteer ambulance worker exemptions. So my recommendation is just to accept it and move on. And my further recommendation is to either repeal Chapter 118 or put in 118 a very simple sentence that says the town applies the taxation for the village.
I've been through this and that makes sense to me. I was talking, I mean, there are 856 properties in the village, and at this point, I think Jeff said 90 of them get exemptions, and these are basically the town exemptions. You know, the alternative is that we have to then do our own taxes and calculate our own exemptions, and you know, I guess person by person based on whatever. Everyone will have to come through to us with all their proofs of whatever their income, their disabilities, their veteran status, and so on and so forth. To me, it just is an overwhelming thing to do when the town handles it and handles it fine, and I don't hear a lot of complaints one way or the other.
Do you have any idea how the town does handle that? Like, how do they approach these?
Each year you have to provide to the town documentation showing age and income, if that's what you're applying for. And that has to be done each year. Once you receive a veteran's exemption, any one of the 5 veterans exemptions, that runs for the life of the person who claimed the exemption and the spouse of a deceased person who claims the exemption.
So it's a one-time application.
Yes, yes, right. And some of the exemptions are no longer offered. And I believe that's World War II, and I can't remember what the other one was. There's a World War II exemption. There's a disability exemption, and for that you have to provide your United States, I'm going to get it wrong, veterans disability percentage, and that I think affects the exemption percentage that you get for fire company and volunteer ambulance. I believe you have to provide documentation that shows that you are a currently enrolled firefighter, or you have to demonstrate 5 years in the fire company, or you can get a lifetime exemption, which is applied if you have 20 years with the fire company or the volunteer ambulance. And all of this, I mean, and the town holds multiple grievance nights, right, where someone can go and grieve about their taxes, their exemptions, etc. It's significant work. I suspect that the town has software that helps them do that, but still, there's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
And one of the things, if we were to go with village exemptions, that would create an enormous amount of ill will within the village for those people who currently receive exemptions. If we were to remove them. Yeah.
Yeah, if we made any changes, yeah.
Right. And
So is there any advantage at all?
yes, for those of us who do not receive any exemptions, our village tax bill would go down.
Only by the amount that is saved by the exemptions you're not giving to
Right.
the people the 90 people who are getting them. And there, and there are of the 90 people who are getting the exemptions, some of them are getting more than one, some of them are getting just one. So you may cut out, 1, 3, and whatever. So you're going to say there's a little bit of money, and that's going to be divvied up among the other 800 people, or there's 760 people in the village. So your tax would go down by that amount, whatever it may be, which is probably, I'm guessing, it's probably not going to be a lot.
Yeah.
I was coming at it from the perspective of village governance. Is there any advantage to village government to make this huge change? I mean, would it realize, despite ill will or anything like that, would it ultimately realize a net improvement to our finances from taxes?
No.
Then
As it turns out, our tax base is our tax base.
right.
Right. And what happens is if someone gets an exemption, their assessed valuation goes down.
Yeah.
But the tax rate stays the same. And so that other money is collected by increasing the tax, not the taxes, but increasing the amount of money that is paid by those people that don't get exemption. So it's a net zero game. There is no financial incentive to do it. And it would be costly and potentially error prone and generates ill will.
Well, then let's just skip it.
Okay, so the question is, do we repeal 111, 118 or not? Or put in one sentence?
I'd be in favor of putting some sort of reference to how these things are determined. And even if it's just a link to where it's described on the town website.
Okay, so in the email that I sent around, I had a proposed sentence to be included, which referenced the town of Phillipstown.
My question with your sentence, it says on or after the effective date of this chapter. Now, is that from when we approved the new code, or is that, are we
Yeah,
going back?
that would be a new code. That would be my understanding, Fran, that it would be the new code. And as it turns out, it doesn't change anything.
Right. Mhm. I mean, the sentence looks fine to me.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
yeah.
Okay,
Me
Yeah.
too.
It's great.
okay, so we'll do the one sentence. Fran, I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, and then we can.
And then we'll move it to cleaned and okayed.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay. We're on chapter 127, residential parking, which is very, very short. And I
Yeah.
don't see any comments. I don't know if anyone has looked at it or not looked at it.
No, I read it. I just didn't see anything I needed to add to it or subtract from it or comment on.
Under A, first paragraph are these all the streets that are included? Because North Street's not there, that's not
yes.
included?
I went back to the original resolution, and North Street is not in the original resolution. So this is almost verbatim from the resolution. The only changes that have occurred to this is that Fran identified that we just referred to Chapter 71 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law. And so she inserted prior to that, New York Vehicle and Traffic Law, and I think in 3 places, Fran?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the only change that has occurred.
Good.
So nobody has any, so 127 is considered complete?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, now we get to, I realized Jeff had the order of things a little off, and I sent an email to everyone. So the next one we should be looking at is 134, which is zoning. And this has a ton of changes.
So let me ask the question there, Fran. Has anyone reviewed zoning?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Steve,
I know.
that's great. Did you have any comments?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. So can we do the following, Fran? Because 134 is essentially the reason why the code update was put in place. The code update committee was put in place. There are major changes to this chapter. The elimination of a couple of zoning districts, the inclusion of some new zoning
Move this along.
districts.
If we're gonna get this done, let's move this along. I think we should set this one aside and start that and have a specific night for it. I need to re-review it. I reviewed it a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think we should just move this along here. Is that, okay. Let's go to water and we've discussed that. So
The water, weren't we waiting for someone's comments on water?
And I think the point that Dave had made at the last meeting was this has been reviewed by FIRST, by PM, by Matt. So, I mean, what more can be contributed?
Okay, so water,
is everyone in agreement with that? I mean, I don't speak for everybody. I just find that we've had it reviewed 3 times, vetted by people that are in the know. Besides making grammatical changes or something, I don't see why we should waste a lot of time on it.
I agree.
Okay, so 130, I will see if there's any spelling or, any capitalization changes, and then I don't see any changes or adjustments on it, so I'm gonna move 130 over and considered complete.
Excellent.
Okay, so far we've completed 111, 118 will be completed, 127, 130, 132.
Okay, now a little background. 132 waterfront consistency review. If the village wishes to have a New York State Department of State approval of the village's local waterfront revitalization program, that local waterfront revitalization program must include a waterfront consistency review. This is a new chapter. It would be implemented by the planning board I've talked to Matt. He's very willing to accept that responsibility for the planning board. Has anybody reviewed the waterfront consistency review document?
I read this a couple of weeks ago.
Any
What I
comments?
see on, what I see is that we have two versions of it. And
Oh, that's
I
good.
don't- And I could go through, one of them I don't believe, one of them is owned by Lynn and one of them is owned by Marie. I don't see many changes on the one by Lynn. I don't see any changes, actually. I do, I'm sorry. So I don't know if they've carried over, Lynn, because I did that a
So
while
Fran,
ago. I did
Yeah,
something.
I think the one that I opened up, I can't find the one that I reviewed. Because the one I'm looking at right here has changes, you know, from Marie. Mostly it seems grammatical typos and stuff like that.
so in looking at the two documents, the first one, the one that's on your left, is a .doc, and the second one is a .docx, which is what we have to have.
Right.
The DOCX has Marie and Lynn and Fran's comments on it.
Yeah, I think the comments are
Yeah.
pretty much the same. If you want to work on the DOCX tonight, and I will go back over the two of them and try to see if there's anything that we missed.
I'm fine, but I think we should work off the DOCX.
Yeah.
Okay,
Got everyone's
so
comments.
let me just find which one I'm doing now, because I'm now in three different areas. Give me a second. Okay, the DOCX, let me just open that one up. Okay. Okay, the first, that's an easy one. First comment is just adding a period. I see that one. As we move down. So I'm the first in the definitions for agency. I wanted to know if we want to make it agency/agent.
Hold on a second, Fran, let me see.
I think it says or officer of the village, so
As it turns out, I'm trying to do a find. I don't think the word agent is used in the text at all. But
Okay, the reason why I said that is because in the definition is the word officer.
Yeah. But the word agent, I'm trying to do a find.
Right,
And
okay.
your picture is hanging over my find.
Sorry.
So it's showing 0 of, and I can't read the rest.
Yeah, no, there's no agent, no word agent. Okay, so I'm fine with leaving it out, if everyone's okay with that.
Mhm.
Okay, on this next, the definition of coastal area, do we need to add something that states a date of the coastal area map, or state at the time of this chapter, at the time of the latest revision of this chapter, or the most current map? Because there are coastal area maps around, do we want to
yeah, I think it should be specific if we have one.
portion? Do you want to say the most current?
That would be longer lasting. If you said most current,
Sorry, say it again.
that would be longer lasting in terms of the writing of the sentence.
Do we,
If
okay,
they
do we
changed
want
the
to,
maps or whatever,
yeah.
then we got the wrong map. So
do we want to, as of the date of this, or what, do we want to add the date of the coastal area map?
Most current
yeah,
coastal area map.
Well, it does say the one on file at the office of the secretary.
Uh-huh. That's probably good.
so most current one on file at the office of the secretary.
Is that okay with everybody?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay. Local waterfront revitalization program, we are replacing a copy which is on file at the office. Oh, we're taking out the last part of it, a copy of which is on file with the clerk of the village of Cold Spring. Everyone's good? Okay.
Clear.
Review of actions, 132.5. Board of Trustees designates the planning board hereinafter referred to as the Waterfront Advisory Committee in the remainder of this document. Good, bad, anybody care? Good?
Clear.
Yes, it's good.
Okay. And I'm taking out the end of it. Okay, Lynn, so if the planning board is referred to as the Waterfront Advisory Committee, should I go ahead and change all planning board to Waterfront Advisory in this document? Marie?
What I'll do, Fran, is I'll see.
Looks like somebody already did.
Well, it looks like you did.
I don't know. I did that?
Yeah.
This is from January, so.
I know, right? I have no idea what I said in January.
Yeah. You did, Fran. I can see.
I did Lynn. Lynn did
I
that,
don't know.
yeah.
You know, it seems that I probably shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's an easier way to do it. And then if we don't agree, we can just reject your change. So Marie, you want to go back and review that?
No, if Lynn has made all those changes, that's fine.
I can't remember whether I've done, I think I did it. Yeah, I did. Okay.
Okay, so do we, okay. So the first one is correct. Planning board otherwise designated. And then the village board with the assistance of the Waterfront Advisory Committee.
No, you got two. You got two of those there.
Got it. Okay. Shall coordinate with the New York State Department of State regarding review of an agency's actions.
Right.
Okay. Okay, we're changing planning board for the Waterfront Advisory. Okay. Okay, let me see, as early as possible, the village's agency formulation. Of a direct action to be located in the coastal area, the village agency shall complete a coastal advisor assessment form. Okay, so my question is the two different ones? We're in B2. Okay, 132.5B2, the village agency shall complete a coastal assessment form to assist the planning board with it. So is it prepared by the agency or by the applicant?
Agency.
Agency, okay. So that takes care of that one.
You got
Planning
two,
board comes out,
and the second that comes out.
right? Okay. Okay, Waterfront Advisory Committee, Planning Board comes out.
Number 2, you need a space between committee with last sentence.
Okay, number 2, got it.
Last, yeah.
Waterfront Advisory, delete the Planning Board.
And there needs a space between committee and within.
There's one space.
Under 4. Under
Got
4.
it. Okay. Leave. Did I miss one? Oops. Okay, planning board, waterfront advisory committee.
So in 5, Fran,
Yes,
at the end of the sentence, agency should have a capitalized A,
5 at the end of the sentence.
the first line.
Okay,
At
got
the
it.
end of the first. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. The action will result in overall village, regional, and statewide public benefit.
Mhm.
In 132.5D4, waterfront determines that the action would not be consistent with one or more of the other. Such action shall not be undertaken unless. I was just asking if that was too broad. Seems
How
that
about,
the,
how about changing it to or instead of and?
okay. That takes care of that. Planning board. Okay, just one phrase added in 132.6A, copy of which, once approved by New York State, is available on the village's website. Is that good for everybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
Actually, no. So this chapter would not be implemented until the local waterfront revitalization program was approved by New York State. So this chapter is written and would be adopted once the LWRP was accepted by the Department of State.
Okay. Does it say, I'm sorry, does it say that at the beginning when this gets adopted?
Nope, we wouldn't adopt it until then.
Okay. The local laws will take effect upon adoption by the village intent. Okay, got it. It's at the bottom. I don't see any other issues. I don't see any comments. Is everybody good with 132?
I think in 132.6A, third line, double space after which.
Where are you? Third line, copy of which is available.
Good.
Lynn, did you fix that or did I miss it?
No, it's fixed.
My trackpad is really sensitive. I was
Yeah,
just
mine
trying to
is
find it. I think I might have fixed it by trying to find it. So,
okay, no problem. That works as long as it got fixed.
yeah, I got
Okay, anyone else?
good.
132 is done.
Done.
Okay, the GS. Okay, so the next one we had is 40, and that's the one that Charlotte is looking at.
Yes, I had asked her if she could have it done within 2 weeks when I spoke with her last week. So my expectation is she'll have it to us by early next week or mid next week.
I don't have anything else on my list of things to be done tonight.
So if I could take the remaining time, I had sent out an email that contained a recommendation for categorizing the various chapters relative to a public hearing. And I got feedback from Lynn. I haven't, and I think Fran, you thought that it was a reasonable categorization of things?
Yeah, my feedback had to do with, what do we have to present to the public, things that haven't been looked at, haven't been changed by the code update or by the,
Village
Board.
Board. No, the only thing that has to be presented at the public hearing is a chapter which has changes in it, whether the change was recommended by the Code Update Committee or by the Village Board. So there are some chapters which we would not go forward with, not that many, and they're really small chapters.
okay, so the rest of it looked fine. So what we have to do is, let me see. The ones with the number sign means that we have not reviewed them yet. And the only ones that we have to review are the 47 check returns. How did we miss that one?
I thought we did that.
I thought we did too.
It wasn't in cleaned and okayed.
Yeah, why did that? Let me see. All right, I don't.
It's 2 pages. We can do it right now.
Works for me.
That's good. I think it looks great.
Return check on this is hereby impose a service fee from the accounts upon the accounts of any check that is. The fee can be found in the master fee schedule. Village board shall set the fee amount by adopting a resolution setting the fee schedule from time to time whenever an account owner is for tax assessment or municipal service. The service charge authorized for this chapter shall be included in whatever list of delinquent accounts is prepared for the enforcement of liens. Any fee or service charge authorized by this chapter and found in the master fee schedule shall be collected the same manner prescribed by law for the collection. Any person whose return checks become chronic, as defined by the village clerk or court clerk, may thereafter be required to pay cash. Looks fine to me.
Okay.
Everybody go to check.
Marie, there were changes made to that by the CEC?
No changes made by the CUC.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So then
Then
we don't have to. Okay, so that should have had a star next to it too, right, Mary? Okay, star, we don't need to do anything. So the only other one that I'm seeing, alcoholic beverages.
Sorry, 47 does not need to go to public hearing.
Right.
Okay. So 47 comes off. So the only one I see with a number sign, nuisances.
Assessment of property,
Where is that? What did I miss?
3. It's not here because the CUC didn't make any recommended changes.
Mhm. Peace and good order, is that,
It's in good order. I have that down as some,
bless you. So peace and good order, number 87. That's cleaned and okay.
it's in cleaned and okay?
That's, I believe it is, according to my cheat sheet it is, but let me just see. Yes, 87 is in cleaned and okay.
Are there changes made to it?
I don't know, I've got it marked, it said gender. You made it gender neutral.
Okay, got it.
And And then 57 is also, well, not 57, what was the one we just did?
57, we made changes to.
Right. And that's,
Defense and indemnification,
which number is that?
7.
7, nobody looked at it. It's not for either us or them, right? We didn't look at it, they didn't look at it.
The CUC looked at it and had no changes for it.
I don't know. We didn't look at it.
Okay, so here's the ones I have that the village board didn't review. 3, 7, 24, 27,
Mhm.
33,
Right.
49.
About
50.
36, Marie?
We looked at it. We had a change to it.
Okay, I didn't have that on my list.
Those were changes from John and Jen.
Okay, so I haven't done that. I have to go find that then. Bush grass. and
Brush, grass,
weeds.
weeds, trees. We changed the name of it.
But it hasn't been reviewed by us. I still see all the changes on it.
Oh. Okay, so we have to review it.
Talking
We
about
need to do
36?
36.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so 36 has to be done.
You want to do it right now?
How long is it? 7 pages? It's mostly font and stuff.
The changes for this chapter came about because the chapter on trees only addresses public trees. It does not address private trees. This chapter has been changed to address private trees, as well as weeds, brush, blah, 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 blah. And the changes have been reviewed by John and agreed to by John and by Jennifer.
Then I'm okay.
Not very long.
Okay, first, so it needs to be saved as a DOX. It's not a DOCX. Okay, it needs to be saved as a DOCX, which it isn't. Yeah. Okay, so do we want to hold off on this until
Okay.
unless, let me see. Save as Google Docs.
Summary after 36, which ones else didn't we finish?
49,
40, right?
49.
40 correct, 49, 50, 51, 55, 78, 83, and 90.
Okay, and most of those are because the CUC didn't do anything with them, right?
Yeah, most of them are that way.
Okay. I believe we can work on 36 if you guys want to. I just resaved it. No. Okay, it hates me.
Don't take it personally.
All right, I won't take it personally.
Where do we, the ones that we have to review, I don't have all of those in my file here. So
Yeah.
where are they?
The reason that you don't is there were no code update committee changes to them. So if you want to review them, which is perfectly fine, you'd be reviewing the version of the chapter that currently exists. I'll get those chapters and put them out on Google Drive.
Okay. So the ones that were reviewed and that we still have to review by the CUC that we still have to review, which are they? What do we have left on those?
We have 71, which we didn't do tonight. We have
104. I'm still waiting for John.
Okay.
We have 36, which needs to be done. We have 134, which is the big one. 40, which we're waiting for Charlotte. My list from last time, 64.
Historic
60.
district.
Okay, that we're waiting for them. We're gonna meet with them on that one.
Something like that.
126, which is VNC.
Any idea on that one, Fran?
I'm gonna be in the office next Thursday because Jeff's out. I'm gonna try to clean that up and make some marks on it so that we can at least look at it. Right now I have, a folder full of papers and from all the notes I took when we walked around, but I need to put it onto the chapter.
Now, it seems to me that, hold on a second. Post. There were changes to 126.
There were some.
Yes. Yes. Changes made through February 14th. So we need to build off of a common base.
Okay.
I'll put 126 out there. And yeah, I'll put
Okay, yeah,
126 out there.
Okay, and then I'll work off of that. Okay, so that, from what I can see, is that everything? 71, 104, 36, 40, 134, 64, and 126?
Okay.
Well, also 3, 7, 24, 27, 33.
But those are the ones that the,
Code Update Committee made no changes to.
okay,
But
so
there- I mean, if it's totally up to the board. If you want to go through those, we can.
if we go through them, they have to be at the public hearing, right?
No, if we make changes, then they have to go to a public hearing.
I mean,
If you can easily send them to us, I would like to look at them. Just
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
okay, so I'll add those up so at the end of stuff. Okay.
So I have no idea what Jeff has for the agenda for next Tuesday. What we have to review, our priorities for next Tuesday are 71 and then 134.
Right. Okay.
I doubt very much that we'll be able to get through 134 next week. So it would be the second Tuesday in September that would hopefully be able to finish it. Sorry, I'm leading up to, should we establish a date in October where we will have the first set of documents to conduct a public hearing?
The first would be the village administration.
No, I would do that last.
Okay.
The first, what I would recommend is that we do 134 first. That's where we're going to get the majority of public comments. I would also recommend that in addition to, if the meeting is held via Zoom, regardless of whether or not the meeting is held via Zoom or in person, that we hire a stenographer to capture every single comment, every single verbal comment.
Do we have anybody that we know is good?
We've used, we have some that we've used in the past. I'd have to ask Jeff to look up the names.
And why isn't the film isn't going to suffice?
What we need to do, if I just go back a week or two to a conversation that occurred at a village board meeting, trying to go through the Zoom with people talking over other people and capturing every single word that is spoken about whether or not MU1, mixed use 1, is a reasonable definition that can be applied to every single I1 parcel in the village. I suspect that's going to raise a lot of questions and comments. Going to the Zoom, somebody's got to transcribe every single thing that is said into a physical document so that we can make sure that the comment as stated is reflected in the comment that is stated is then reviewed by the village board to determine whether or not that comment should be incorporated in the chapter or rejected.
Got it.
Okay, so we're gonna start the public hearing with 134. I'm good at setting, so next week, we're gonna do 71 and then 134. I'm good at setting a date in October.
The question is whether or not we want to do it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
I need some time before we decide on these things. My eyes are bleeding right now. I can't deal with this, seriously. I need to think of where we're going with this and how quickly we need to do this. So
Okay,
I don't want to set a date tonight.
okay.
Okay.
And since
So,
we have the date set for the next meeting, and also we'll revisit, and maybe if we need to have another meeting, if we can fit one in. Right now, there's a lot on my table. It's, between this police reporting and people talking about that. We have Chazen, we have the dams, we have a number of things. So, if we can, we'll fit another meeting in. We started with that, and also should discuss whether we want to meet in person. And if we can even do that, maybe we can't even do that in the village hall.
Well, we could, and probably could have one or two attendees, but probably not more than that.
Yeah, right, exactly. Unless we move it to the firehouse.
Well, as it turns out, if I take the number of attendees at the last public meeting for the that the code update had, it was, I'm going to say there were 20 to 30 people there,
Right.
if not more.
I mean, just regular meetings.
Oh, okay.
No, not for definitely for public hearings. We don't have enough room, I don't think, anywhere, unless we got the auditorium at Haldane.
Yeah, yes, I agree.
Okay, so I'll set these. I just really, I can't deal with it right now. So, and I'd like to put some thought into it. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.